looking at your partner and saying, they deserve this. They deserve the ability to explore and to go a little further. They deserve the ability to say, I just had the coolest sexual experience with 3 people I've ever had, blah, blah, blah. Mm-hmm. They deserve that, you know, and I want to give them that. Mm-hmm. I want that to be a part of what we're able to do for each other, you know. Mm-hmm. I don't want to be the person who is holding them back. I want to be their Thelma if they're Louise, you know. I want to be the person who's on their side saying, you had a fantasy this morning about doing this, let's do it. Or you go do it.
Well, I think, you know, for women that I've spoken to and myself, it's not that, you know, we don't want you guys to have sex with other people and enjoy it. That's fine. Mm-hmm. It's the connection. It's the fear of loss.
Oh, I think that's always the case.
Issue.
Yeah, for
everyone.
So,
like, you know...
Not just women, for men, too.
Yeah. So, like, here's an example. So as far as like a threesome goes, I would be more comfortable in a scenario where, let's say we're on vacation and I pick up a girl.
Yeah, exactly.
Because she's staying there.
And she is no threat.
Exactly.
Yeah.
So the sex, it doesn't matter. Even if she's better in bed, whatever, it doesn't matter.
And everybody...
Because she's going to be gone next week.
And this is something that I think everyone knows and plays around with, you know? Like when we talk about like gangbang parties, very often people go into different cities to do that kind of stuff, mm-hmm. you know, because you can know someone in a city that can set it up for you. Mm-hmm. You show up and you don't know any of these people.
Yeah.
They will never talk to you,
sure.
you know, mm-hmm. and that's fantastic, mm-hmm. you know. But yeah, the connection is the scary part a lot of times, mm-hmm. you know. I mean, I don't think anyone of us who like this kind of stuff would be so insecure that we would be really freaked out about hearing our partner's good sexual experiences. It's the connections and the fear of losing them that's a big part.
And it goes back to the promise that you can make and that a lot of men say that they can, or they're not going to fall for somebody else. Because I think a lot of women want more than just variety. We want something deeper. We want more of a connection. So if we're
But let's not discount the fact that some women very much want.
Oh, absolutely. Yeah. No, I'm not lumping everybody in. I'm just telling you what I've heard, you know, mm-hmm. since I've been doing this podcast and my personal experience. So, you know, we can go off and have sex with people, but if we continue to have sex with that same person, there's a connection that's being built.
Oh, yeah.
That maybe wouldn't be built as much on a male's scale, certain males, not all. Mm-hmm. And, like, that's an issue because then the man is going to... Is the man worried that he's going to lose her because she's going off and doing this?
You're always worried. I think everyone's worried. But the reason why poly relationships don't statistically fare any worse than monogamous ones do is the same way, like, I could say that my marriage would have been about 4 years shorter mm-hmm. if we had been monogamous.
Okay.
Because when the partner is building those connections with people, mm-hmm. They don't have to be physical with them first. You know, very often they can make those decisions way before that happens, you know, and intimacy, it sneaks up on us, mm-hmm. you know, and you can be angry about it, which I choose not to be, or you can understand the fact that intimacy sometimes just, it's there. You turn around and all of a sudden it built up. It got a little darker, a little darker, a little darker. So all of a sudden it looks like love now.
Yeah, but why not just don't put yourself in that situation?
Because you are always in that situation. You can put yourself in a tin can and keep yourself away from men.
I understand, but I think you can make it, you're more exposed. There's more and less. You're always exposed, but there's more and there's less.
But again, let's go back to this idea that for monogamous and for poly people, mm-hmm. it's a matter of scale. So the way intimacy might build for a monogamous person may be having drinks after work is just as intimate as sex, mm-hmm. you know? And I think that's something that we have to reflect on.
It could even be more so because of the things you're telling each other.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. And reflect on the fact that, like, monogamy is not going to keep people from leaving. It never has.
No, I know that.
Yeah. And that's the thing I had to acknowledge with poly, which is that obviously there's no perfect kind of relationship for anybody, right? Mm-hmm. But all the ideas where monogamous people were like, well, I'm afraid of this person leaving. Well, you might want to reconsider being in a relationship at all because people leave, mm-hmm. and they do it just as much through monogamous relationships as poly ones. They leave. I'm afraid of being of not seeing it coming nobody sees it coming.
Mm-hmm.
You know, that sort of thing. But I also feel like the way intimacy builds up, and I guess this is the thing I keep coming back to, is startlingly aggressive. You know, that's why when these men are saying, I made a promise, I totally relate to that. You know, because you have to. You have to. Because there are people out there who will sweep you off your feet. You know, there are people out there with one experience will sweep you off your feet. You can go to an airport one day and your flight's delayed and you sit down and there's a guy that sits next to you and he's funny and he's kind and he's interesting and he says 2 or 3 things and all of a sudden, wow, you know, and you never saw that coming. And the only thing that can stop you from letting go is your promise.
I agree.
Yeah. So I feel like for whatever kind of relationship, that promise is really important.
Absolutely.
Thanks for listening to Bound to Talk. Look for us on YouTube, iTunes, or visit boundtotalk.com.